Hello everyone, I'm here today with a new video. This one is a flip through. It's for day one of my trip to New Mexico. So that's what you're going to see today. I've done process videos probably of about half of these, I think. Certainly not all, but maybe about half. So if you want to see those, go ahead and go back and watch them. Otherwise, just enjoy the flip through. So on this front page, obviously I wanted to do a 6x8 photo, and this photo was taken actually from the train just outside of Gallup, New Mexico. So it was before I actually even got to Albuquerque, but I wanted to include it because that kind of says quintessential New Mexico to me. I always think of the Hot Air Balloon Festival. So I thought it was fitting that I got to see those. And I chose just to add text on there to have my title, and I knew like, oh, there's just enough letters where I could make it even, and so that worked out well. And then over here I just decided to do simple dates. I used one of my date rollers that I have, and then I actually had a sticker sheet from, I think it's Echo Park. Yes, Echo Park, that had hot air balloons on it as an option, and so I used one of those here. So on this left-hand side, I decided to do quite a bit of journaling about how the trip came to be. On the top here, I actually used a large rub-on. And you know what? I have them sitting right here. Let me show them in case you're interested in them. They are from 49th and Market. They are quite large. So normally, I think these would be better for 12 by 12 scrapping, which I don't do anymore. I switched to smaller sizes and pocket pages a long time ago. But this one did fit across a 6-inch page, so you know that's good. And then obviously, like if you wanted to go along the left hand side, you could still use them because it would fit the 8 inches lengthwise, so good either way. So I'm hoping to use more of them in this album, but so far I've really only used the one big one, and then you'll see these little elements that are in between things. I did use some of those elsewhere. You can see right here. And then here I wanted to find sequins that matched both sides. I was able to do that, so I have quite an eclectic mix here, using yellow as the base because there's yellow here and lots here, and then I just filled in with the other colors, but I'm really happy with how that turned out. And I just added a simple sticker. Again, I wanted to bring out the yellow on this side. This side I wanted to bring out the purple, because there were a couple hues there, not just one even. And so you can kind of see there are lighter purple and darker purple sequins in there, and that was on purpose. So this is actually the same place. We stopped in to get coffee because there was a layover time between when my Amtrak train got in and then when we were taking the rail runner to Santa Fe. So we thought, well, what better to do than go get coffee? We're both coffee drinkers, so we were up for that. And we found one that I think it was less than 3 blocks away. So we figured, why not go over there? And it's called Zendo Coffee. So this is where we ordered. This was actually outside and back. So this is where we sat while we were drinking our coffee. So what a lovely thing to look at. But I didn't need them to match necessarily. So I kind of did this as its own thing. This is a rub-on, but it's from a different set. It's not from the same one as this. I've had those for a while, and I'm really making an effort in this album to use some things that have been in my stash for quite a while. Next, we were off to take our train from Albuquerque to Santa Fe. This is called the Rail Runner. So you can see this is their brochure here, which I wanted to include. And then over here, I have yet more rub-ons. This, where it says arrival and destination, that's actually a rub-on, as are these photo corners. Now, normally I hate photo corners like that. I don't like to use them, but they were on the sheet. And again, I'm really making the effort to use everything on there that I possibly can just to get rid of them. So they went on the page. I'm not 100% sold on them, but it works for what I was doing, so that's fine. And then here, I did keep the brochure intact so it can be fully opened. I can see the whole schedule if I want to for any reason, but I like all the info that it gives. And then on the back, because I didn't need the info that was there, I decided to enlarge this photo of the Santa Fe station where we arrived. And then I did it as a 4x8 here. Very, very simple embellishments, and that's all it needed. So from the station, we had to walk to our hotel, which I think was like 3.5, 4 blocks. Maybe it wasn't even that far. Don't remember totally for sure. I'd have to map it, but it was close. We didn't have to walk too far. And we each only had a small carry-on suitcase, so it was fine. But there's my friend Robin. We're walking towards our hotel. And technically, I guess it was an inn. Because it's not really a hotel. It's more of an inn. It's all one level, individual rooms. Our room was actually more like an apartment because it had a full bedroom and a living area, full kitchen, and a bathroom. So very nice for us. We actually did use the kitchen a little bit. We stored leftovers and food in the fridge and made some snacks in the kitchen. So that was a good thing to have. So if you're going to Santa Fe and you're looking for an option like that, I highly recommend staying at Pueblo Bonito. But here I did very simple embellishments again. I cut down this photos that would fit on the card because I wanted to showcase some pink since there was pink in here. And this is from a set of digital cards I have that are New Mexico specific. So I was able to use that. And I just chose to do some stamping right there. It's kind of hard to see. It says destination found. Hopefully the camera's showing that. This was the office area where we had to check in, and then they had coffee and snacks like granola bars every day, and we actually did utilize it. We went the next morning and sat and had coffee, had snacks before we set out for the day. It was a really, really nice option, and their staff was so friendly that it was fun to kind of just sit there, chit chat a little bit with them, you know, and then have our coffee and then be about our business for the day. And here I just kept all the embellishments simple because there's a lot happening in these photos. So just some phrase strips. I had this blank piece of craft. I think technically it's cardstock, but it was pre-cut. All I did was stamp on it, use a leftover piece of label I had. And I do have a set of stickers that are very, they're like desert themed, but I think it's meant more like for a botanical garden, just the way that the stickers are made. But I was able to use one here since there were some plants in there. And on the back here of this 4x6 insert, I chose to do a photo collage to fit in even more. I didn't want to have to do a whole other like full layout because I knew I wanted to show the inside like this. So just doing the door outside, pretty simple. And then I happened to grab one of their business cards and all the colors matched, especially the ones of our door. So I had to cut it down a little bit. It wasn't exactly 2x3. So I cut it down a little bit and then it fit quite nicely. This is the inside of our room. I have a back issue where I just cannot sleep on most hide beds anymore, like a pull-out couch. I just can't do it. So I took the bedroom and Robin took the pull-out couch. And then we obviously used this like before we went to bed. We just sat there and we watched Hamilton one night. So we did use the living room area too. And then I had this fun card and I'm like, all of those colors match what was in our room. I have to use it. But it felt plain, so I stamped this on there. I actually have stamped this as first impressions, just luckily, so I was able to use that as well. And then after we checked in, left our bags, we just went right out into the city. We're like, you know what? We have a couple hours before it gets dark and everything, so let's get out and see what we can see. So we did do that, and we found some decorations around the city. They were already decorated for Christmas. This was the first week of December, so I think that's pretty normal. And then here I did a flip, so you can see it. And I just did a sticker under there, nothing too special. And then here, this is a chipboard piece. I think it's from Allie Edwards, from one of her holiday sets. It was very thick, so I actually peeled off all the layers that I could to make it much, much thinner. And then I just chose to put a strip on top, and that worked out really well. Our first major stop, after just kind of wandering around town a little bit, was to go to Loretto Chapel. And Robin used to live in Albuquerque and went to Santa Fe quite a bit. So she had been there, but was willing to go again. So I said, great, it looks interesting, let's go. So that was our first major stop. So I just kind of wrote about that a little bit. I had a card that said New Mexico, so of course I wanted to use it. So the big attraction for Loretto Chapel is this miraculous staircase. And there's a whole sort of myth, legend, call it what you will, behind it. I didn't include that here, but I did on another page, so that story does get told. But right here, I just wanted to showcase the beautiful inside of the chapel, because even without that sort of being the main draw, it's still lovely. So you can see that there. I just wanted to have another pop of red in here since there was some on this side. So I used this background. I did this, cut the photo down and used red cardstock over here. And then I just did some stamping and left it. And that's similar to other pages where I feel like there's so much going on in these photos. I don't need to use a ton of stuff. So just doing a little stamping here, having a phrase strip, and then here I use some decorative brads. And again, trying to use things in my stash. I've had these for years. Still have some left, but at least I got to use 3 there. I just used kind of 1 in each size. They're all different styles. They have different patterns on them, but I feel like for what's pictured here, it works. More photos inside the chapel here. As you can see, there's a full view from the back looking towards the front, and it is gorgeous inside. And there were people like actively in there praying, so we were trying to be very quiet and very respectful. But it's really not that big. It's quite small. I know they do like small weddings in there, I believe, which would be lovely. But I don't know that they even do regular services anymore. I can't remember. We went to this one and we went to San Miguel. Maybe it's San Miguel where they don't do regular services anymore. It's very special occasions and then special events. But here you can see there's some lovely glass in there. Got this in the corner. I thought that was pretty. And there was a blue tint to several things. Like this woman's wearing a blue sweater. There was blue here and here. And so I chose to do blue with my pocket card and with my label. So here's the outside. So as we were walking away, I grabbed some photos because the outside is beautiful too. I mean, obviously this is where the main attraction is, but the outside is lovely. And again, I kept it very simple. Just use this label or phrase strip that I had. And then I have a set of chipboard and ephemera pieces that are all, they're made to match. This is one of them. And this color I felt like just worked really well with what I had going on. And then with the darker yellow that was in the card. So kind of scored on that one. And I should show you, this comes from these sets. So you can see I've used a lot of the chipboard. I just chose to pop them all out of the sheet they came on, the cardboard sheet, because they were falling out anyway. And then these are the matching ephemera pieces. So these are from Simple Stories, and it's called the Let's Go line. When we were done there, we went and we're walking along in the town and found a Christmas shop. I'm not a huge Christmas person, but I do sometimes get ornaments from places I visit, and my friend wanted to go into. So I'm like, okay, let's go in there. Luckily, they had a fun business card that I could use. And then I just did this card. I have a lot of digital holiday themed cards that I've accumulated over the years. But since I don't do a family album anymore, I really don't scrap the holidays for any reason because I'm an atheist. I don't celebrate the religious part of it. So I have all this stuff. This is another way for me to use that. So like I got to use some when we were in Quebec City on that trip because we went to a Christmas shop there too. Able to use it here. And then of course it was decorated for Christmas. For me, that's a great way to use up some of that stuff in other ways. And this is more of the Christmas shop. I did do a flip up here because I needed 2 pictures there that I wanted to showcase. I was able to find a fun piece of ephemera, and then I did some ink splattering. You can kind of see that in this card too with the gold. And once again, kept it very simple. All I did here, this label, I did not add that. It came as part of the card. So I just did some stamping, and that was all I had to do. And over here, I chose to do a photo collage. I didn't want another full page of Christmas stuff in the store. It was all kind of, very similar: trees, ornaments. How many pictures of that do I need? So I chose to just do a 4x6 photo collage. And then all I did was add this little embellishment to the center. And then after that, it was later in the day. We also just did some random wandering around the city. We were ready for dinner. So we stopped in at the Plaza Cafe. This was from a different brochure. I don't even remember what it was from. Margarita Trail. I think they do something like a Margarita Trail. So it might have been from that. Hence the margarita image here. But it worked for our dinner. So I cut that out and put it on kind of a mosaic card here. This is actually paper, not a pocket card, but it worked out to use it as a 4x6. And then some shots of the decorations at dinner. And then we were actually seated out here. You can kind of see like there's these half walls that are clear with glass. And they had heaters outside. It really wasn't that cold anyway. But since they had outdoor heaters, we're like, you know what? Sure, we'll sit outside. Why not? And then you can see here, I also picked up a sticker that they had Inside, I think I paid like $2 or something for that. So I felt like that was a good expense. Some more fun stickers. These are from Pip Sticks. There's my dinner. And then they actually had these, I don't even know what kind of fabric this is. They're not like a regular cloth napkin because they kind of like, if you pull at them, they'll start to sort of disintegrate. That happened at the edge up here. So I had to be very, very careful with how I glued that on. So I have that here, and it was just the black, and this was open. I chose to color that in with a marker to bring in the red of the chili. Our waiter was very nice and offered to take a picture for us, so we did that. There's kind of a weird shadow happening over my face, but whatever, I don't care. I loved it because we're both in it, and you can see the plaza lit up for Christmas behind us. So I did ink splattering here too in white and gold. I wanted both because there were gold flecks in these embellishments, and I think that turned out well. And then since I did it there, I thought, well, I might as well do it here. Since these pages are going to face each other, why not? And then after we left, we walked through the plaza area to get pictures of all of the lights, and I loved it that they used non-traditional colors. Like there's fuchsia and some purple and this aqua. You don't see that very often, but for here it really fits, and I absolutely loved it. And I knew I had some stuff that I would probably be able to match it. So I had this little light pole, lamp post, piece of ephemera, so I used that. I did cut off the bottom a little bit, but not much. I used some sparkly fuchsia washi that I had, kept my embellishments very simple. Now this one does have a flip as well. I don't do 4x6 horizontal flips very often, but here I needed it because I had 2 pictures I wanted to fit. And then because this one had a lot of open space, I chose to embellish up here. Some more washi, this little tab, which worked out great. And it's green, but a nice offset from this green. So I think it shows up better. It doesn't blend in. And then on my journaling card, all I did was I chose to add a little rhinestone right there for the dot in the eye. This was the last layout for that day. We were coming back at night, and it was so pretty to see our place like all lit up like this. It's very welcoming, and it just felt very, very Southwest when we were walking up. So I freaking loved it. And I thought, you know what? That looks beautiful. I need to get some photos. So I did. Took it there. And then here was like, there's a little courtyard kind of in the middle where the buildings sort of meet up together. And so I took a picture from there as well. And I just happened to have this card in my stash that had similar colors and it had stars. Since it was nighttime, I figured, all right, that's a good way to end the day. Again, minimal embellishments, but I love the way it turned out. And that's the end of day 1. So as you can see, like I still have quite a bit to work on for days 2 and 3, but for now, day 1 is completed. Thanks for watching.